Hey, what's going on guys? It's me, Aiden from Cartoon Apocalypse, and today I'm here with the analysis of Ransomgram. Now this is the third episode of Star vs. the Forces of Evil Season 4 that came out today, this Sunday. Well, it's technically the second episode, but basically each episode was split into two, so that's why I'm classifying it as the third. If you missed my other two videos on the previous two episodes that came out today, I'd recommend going to watch those because those are currently out. And yeah, you might find those interesting. Honestly, if you were to only watch one video of mine, I would recommend watching the previous one, which was on Swimsuit, because that one had the most info. And this episode on Ransomgram is more going to be laid back. Ransomgram didn't have too many things to talk about just because it was simply a fun little adventure episode that didn't have too many plot points whatsoever, but it did have a couple little things in there that I did want to talk about. But before we get into this video, I do want to mention that we do have a Discord that you can come join, talk with us. If you want to talk with me or any other members of the community, you can go ahead and do that because why not, right? It's free, Discord's free. You can come join, talk with us about the new episodes, things like that, so it's super fun. But because I have 4 videos to make today, this video is going to be more focusing on the plot points and the bullet points that I wrote down for this episode, and that's true for all 4 videos that I'll be making today. This is more of just to make my work a little bit easier and so that I can actually get all the videos out today. So I didn't want to make the videos longer than they had to be. So at the very beginning of the episode, like literally the first couple seconds, Marco walks into Star's room and says that he found another doll that possibly had a mole on it. So that's another hint to Meteor and Marco, like as far as Meteor having her memories back. I personally don't think it means anything. I think it's just a little fun gag that they're throwing in there, you know, just to have like toss a little fun, you know, poke the stick a little bit. I think it's funny to see, but I don't really think it has any meaning or value. It's just a fun little thing for the viewers to be like, haha, yeah, that's a thing. So that's my opinion on that. And like I just mentioned, Marco walks into Star's room. Star and Marco officially move in to the Monster Temple. And this is pretty big because this means that they intend to stay there longer than they initially thought. So Star is looking to be staying here to help Eclipsa, and she expects it to take a longer time than just staying a couple nights. So this is showing that we are going to be staying in this area for a long time. So we're just gonna skip ahead a little bit, you know. Marco decides to go with Star to go find nachos, etc, etc, and we get to this point here. We first meet a new character named Brunzetta, and that's pretty interesting. You know, new character, it's always cool to see new characters. She was one of Marco's friends while he was adventuring, and it seems like Marco and Brunzetta really, you know, bonded and became good friends while Marco was exploring these dimensions and living out his 16 years. But one thing that is interesting to note here, and some people might not care, but it is something that I think we should talk about just simply because this show likes to, you know, have a bunch of empowerment for different groups of people. Star is seen in this episode having those same star eyes that we've seen her give Marco when, like, because of the abs and stuff, to Brunzetta. So this can be viewed in 2 ways. The first way is you could say, oh, hey, Star's bi. Or the second way is you could be like, oh, Star just really admires Brunzetta. And I can see arguments for both sides of this, but really, first of all, it doesn't matter too much to the show. It's something that they likely won't bring up again, and I would be surprised if they officially announce it in the show itself, like we might get a confirmation from Darren if whichever one is true. But the show does like to discuss, you know, gay topics, and as far as just empowerment for all groups of people, like monsters and humans, this show is really good at just everything involving that women empowerment too. So this show is something that I feel this would be in. And I can see the argument of, oh, it was just Star admiring her. However, there is an important thing to note that someone in our Discord pointed out named Laura. In Star's eyes, we can see the bisexual flag there, and that could be viewed as like, oh, well, that was just a choice of colors, or it could just be a small little hint confirming that Star is actually bi, and that's really cool because we've never really seen a main character with this alignment, and it is interesting to see that they're empowering these groups of people who feel discriminated in just everyday society, just because people don't share opinions, and when people disagree, bad things tend to happen. So I personally am on the side that she is bi, but I can see both sides of the argument, so that's just my opinion there. If we get an official confirmation, I probably will make a community post, but that is something that I did want to talk about. Now, I'm basically going to skip the entire episode because, again, this was just more of a fun little adventure episode that really didn't have too much plot. It was just, you know, a side plot thing. So I'm not going to talk about that. You get a basic understanding of it if you just watch the episode. But I will skip to a couple more important parts. At the end of the episode, Marco decides to stay and help these Neversonians just kind of build back their castle, because Marco is pretty much just the cause of the downfall of that castle, so he feels the need to stay and help rebuild. So Marco ends up staying there for, my guess, around 6 months to 1 year, because as soon as Star gets back onto the other side, back into Muni, it's about, 10, maybe 20 seconds, depending on how much the show sped it up just to fit everything in the episode. And from the episode running with scissors, we saw that Marco was gone for about 7 minutes, and he was, in the other time, it was about 16 years. And that equates to about 2 years for every 1 minute. And for 30 seconds, that means about 30 seconds is 1 year. And the time that Marco was gone from Star, just as far as in Muni, it was more like 10 to 20 seconds, so give or take 6 months to 1 year, and that's just my logical thinking of that and how it kind of is that. Hey, so this is Future Eden. I saw this picture on Twitter, and it's actually kind of like a confirmation from somebody who worked on the show on how long Marco was in the Never Zone for. And Sabrina, which was the person this person was asking, said, I think it was about 7 years. And that's like way off compared to what I thought, which was 6 months to 1 year. And this is kind of confusing to me because unless if the time works differently in the Never Zone, even though Marco was in the Never Zone, I don't know. It's weird because the way I calculated it in the, before I saw this tweet, it makes sense compared to the last time we saw it. 10 to 20 seconds for 7 years doesn't make sense at all compared to the 7 minutes and 16 years. Unless if I'm forgetting something, I don't know, that doesn't make too much sense to me. But yeah, let's continue with this video. That's important to note, I guess. It's just saying that Marco's a little bit more older, and now we don't have a pinpoint on how old he really is anymore, so that's interesting, I guess. Now, when Marco got back, he actually learned another language, and that is Merman, which is probably the same as Merbubble, which we know a little bit about from the Magic Book of Spells. So I think that this is confirming that we will be having an episode where they go underwater, and Marco gets to use this ability. Especially since the Season 4 poster was something underwater. So that's definitely something to keep in mind there. And then the last thing that I did want to mention is how El Chapo is no longer there, so Marco doesn't really have his sword in quotation marks, just because, hey, that's his signature sword. And Nachos is now on Muni, so we might see Nachos featured again in another episode, so that's pretty cool. But that's pretty much it for this episode. Again, it was more of just a fun little adventure episode. We had a couple things that I wanted to talk about, but overall, not too big of a plot-filled episode. So, yeah, those have been my thoughts on this episode. If you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like and subscribe for more content similar to this. But, yeah, that's going to be it for me, and I'll see you guys in the last video for today. Goodbye.
Brunzetta, now's not the time.